Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host. Happy 420, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get high on some Dolphins talk today, baby, and do Ricky Williams proud. Speaking of the team, they added a new offensive lineman, so we're going to touch on that. And a recent report that was dropped by Ian Rappaport shed some light on what could actually be going down in the top 10 of next week's draft. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Right, and that's why I think they're right to believe in him, because now they could not only accumulate more draft capital by trading out of the third slot, but given the needs of the other teams, it's a very high probability Pitts is there. There's a good, so they can grab him. And if he's not there, then Devontae Smith's going to be there. And if he's not there, I mean, obviously Waddle could be had, and he might turn out to be the best pass catcher out of the whole group. I agree.
You're talking receivers, but you need time to get the ball to them. You don't need as much time to get the ball to your tight end.
And I think it also will open things up for the receivers for the points that you mentioned. But for all those reasons, I think the Dolphins made the right decision. I think they're on the right course, and they're live in the AFC East.
First, we're going to start with the actual news and not just mere speculation, but we will get to the speculation. But on Monday night, it was reported that the Dolphins would be agreeing to terms with veteran offensive lineman DJ Fluker. Fluker played his college at, guess where, Alabama, now the fourth Dolphin to be a former Roll Tide, Crimson Tide member, and he was drafted in the first round by the then San Diego Chargers back in 2013. He never fully lived up to the billing of being selected 11th overall, but I don't think many 2013 draft picks did, Deion Jordan. But Fluker has put together a pretty nice career for himself when you don't consider the fact that he was taken 11th overall. Just as a lineman, pretty good. He's now 30, spent 4 years with the Chargers, one with the New York Giants back in 2017, had a stint with Seattle for 2 seasons before he then spent last season playing for the Baltimore Ravens. And Fluker fits the exact mold of what type of offensive lineman the Dolphins are looking for. Big and physical at the point of attack, 6'5", 342 pounds. He's also got position flexibility, which is surprising for someone of his size. He's played plenty at both right tackle and right guard since he entered the league 8 years ago. And honestly, I would project him to play inside at right guard if he does end up winning a starting spot. He's huge, so working in tight spaces is likely easy for him, especially as he ages. Plus, he has shown that he struggles sometimes in pass protection, so having him onto his blind side may not be the biggest upgrade compared to even a Jesse Davis. Listen, having Lamar Jackson back there makes you look a lot easier. Also, he was the right tackle for the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seahawks have been known for having a shit offensive line. So this isn't some world beater. We didn't just completely upgrade. I would say he's pretty akin to a Jesse Davis at the NFL level. Although he does have pedigree in the NFL, having lasted for 8 years and pretty much starting wherever he went, and he also has postseason experience, I don't think he has anything locked up. Remember, Miami has Austin Jackson at left tackle. He was taken 18th overall, and despite some growing pains, should still turn out to be a fine tackle, and he has a higher ceiling than a guy like Fluker. Solomon Kinley surprised many by how much he actually ended up playing last season, and with a full offseason, a full training camp, and months to prepare after some meaningful reps, he got a lot of reps last year. I don't think Kinley is going to be giving up that left guard spot. At center, currently Miami has Matt Skura, who played with Fluker in Baltimore last year. Skura is clearly the weak link along the line, and I think is the reason why you should not be surprised if the Dolphins do look to take a center in the first 2 rounds. Where things get interesting is on the right side of the line, right? Fluker can't play center, so he's not an option there. But on the right side of the line, I believe that some combination of Robert Hunt, Jesse Davis, and Fluker are going to be used to fill the 2 spots. My guess? The team's going to want to continue to develop Hunt at the right tackle spot. If they didn't want him there, they wouldn't have let him finish out the season going through his own growing pains at the right tackle spot. Instead, and rather than dealing with that, they would have just kicked Hunt back into guard and have Jesse Davis play right tackle where he has experience. They instead, though, brought Jesse into play on the inside, allowing Hunt to develop. So I do think they're going to want Hunt to kind of run with that starting job. With this in mind, it makes sense for the Dolphins to not only want him to take that starting job, but then also have Fluker kick in inside to guard. Because look, speaking of Hunt here, not only does he have a higher ceiling than most all other linemen on the team right now, aside from Austin Jackson, but Robert Hunt is under contract for 3 more years on the cheap, right? replacing a guard is a lot easier. So if Fluker was the guy for this season, if, say, Fluker came in and was the starting right tackle and they kicked Robert Hunt into guard, well, then they're going to have to just be in the same boat as they are this year, because they're probably going to sign Fluker to a 1-year deal. He is on the older side, and clearly the Dolphins want to go younger. So it rather makes more sense to get valuable depth there, potentially as a swing tackle, as a flex player, or kick inside to guard, where it is far more easy to replace you versus if you become a good right tackle. If Fluker comes in and is good, yeah, that's a great problem to have, but now you got to pay him, and he's a veteran, so he's not going to be cheap. Look, similar to Isaiah Wilson, Fluker was likely just brought in to compete, and unlike Isaiah Wilson, he actually has his head on straight, so he'll last. And wherever he's been, he's lasted. Whenever he plays, he generally starts. So he's just good enough to start, which is good, but he's never been, a Pro Bowl level player, and clearly not good enough for one team to sign to a long-term deal and keep a part of their franchise for more than 3-4 years. So I'm definitely interested to find out the details of this deal, and if it's starter money, right? If he's getting paid a lot more than, a couple million, if he's getting paid 6, 7, 8 million, then I think it's going to shed a lot more light on the matter, but I fully expect it to be a very favorable deal for Miami, and on the lower end, definitely closer to the vet minimum versus a starting tackle money. Now, what does the signing mean for the draft, if anything? What does the fact that Miami 10 days about 10 days before the draft have brought in another right tackle? Well, as we've been saying on the show for a few weeks now, Miami likely did not move up for Penei Sewell, and no Peter Schrager, definitely not Rashawn Slater. I just don't think that they would give up a future first rounder to go get a tackle. Remember, Miami was at pick 12. They moved up, giving up a future first, which I believe was San Francisco's, and by doing so, ensuring that they get someone at 6, right, of value. I know you guys love Penei Sewell, but I'm sorry, the Dolphins have just invested 2 top 50 picks at the tackle position within the last 12 months. And now with the addition of Fluker, I just think that would just show incompetence. Honestly, if you're taking that many tackles in a 2-year span, frankly, a 1-year window, then you're not good at identifying tackles. So the Dolphins, if they have faith in their scouting and their development, shouldn't be taking a guy this high. So the fact that they went with Fluker and added Fluker just shows that they want to add competition and depth to the room, right? And potentially add more depth later in the draft, not find a starter at pick 6. So all this move indicates to me is that they never really were all in on getting an offensive lineman in the first place early in the draft, and their overall aggressive moves, that points to that, right? From taking a flyer on a problem child in Isaiah Wilson to now this, Miami seems comfortable with where they are at. Not done by any stretch. The line does need improving, but they're definitely comfortable, and the line's not their top priority. Moving on to the next storyline for today's episode, per Ian Rappaport of NFL Network at NFL.com, quote, "The Dolphins have already made 2 moves in the NFL draft, and they may not be done yet. Sources say they've received calls from teams looking to trade up to number 6, and it is something they're considering. A lot of things in play, but Miami could be at it again," unquote. That was on Twitter. And holy crap, I am excited for next Thursday. It is going to be a lot of fun. So here are a couple rumors and theories around this report. Remember, it's silly season, so everyone's blowing smoke up your ass to try and drive a specific narrative. So what's that narrative attempting to be spun here? Well, either these sources are factual and legitimate and came from Miami themselves to try and drum up trade talks between them and other clubs, or equally likely, one of the teams Miami has spoken to has leaked the information, but that's less likely. It would hurt that team if competition went up for the 6th pick. So I doubt that, another team has leaked that. So if it is legitimate, then it likely came from Miami themselves. Because think about it. If the Dolphins did have their eyes set on one specific player, right? A player they felt strongly enough to move up and get from 12, then why would they bother entertaining trade talks, right? If they knew who they wanted, they had someone identified, then you wouldn't be really engaging in this because you gave up capital to go get someone. Well, the reason you released this report is to discourage another team, right? The Dolphins might want this out there because they don't want another team jumping them to steal their guy, right? I don't think this is the case, but if it was leaked by Miami, it's for one of those 2 reasons. Either because they're trying to drum up the price, or because they're trying to show that they're not that invested in whoever they're clearly very invested in. For example, a Kyle Pitts. So they don't want a team trading up for him and have a team back at 8, 9. The Panthers might be in love with Kyle Pitts, right? And Miami's worried they might make a deal with the Falcons or something to go get him. So by Miami saying, hey, we're exploring trade options, it lowers that value, right? But in my personal opinion, I don't think that's the case. Because if we've learned anything in the Chris Greer, Brian Flores era, it's that shit don't leak. Shit don't leak. So this is where I think the truth to be closer to. It's that this information was leaked not from Miami, but the Atlanta Falcons. Imagine you're the Falcons, right? And you're negotiating with multiple teams right now who are trying to move up to acquire a quarterback at pick 4. And hypothetically, let's say these teams are the Broncos at pick 9 and the Patriots at pick 15. So, the Falcons want multiple first-round picks. They want this haul. They don't want to just move back for the sake of moving back. Look, new Falcons management has no plans being this high up again. At least they think that right now. They always have no plans of being that high up again. But this new regime's like, if all things go well, this is as high as we're going to be picking. So why the hell wouldn't we want to maximize the value of that return? So in response, the Broncos and definitely the Patriots are not going to get into a bidding war against each other and just raise the price. As much as you would like these teams to meet their price, clearly neither the Broncos and Patriots, through negotiations, are comfortable doing that. Well, now imagine you are the Broncos and Patriots, and a story comes out saying that the Dolphins at pick 6, just 2 spots later, are speaking with other teams for the 6th spot, who are likely eyeing the same quarterback. Now, if you're the Broncos or Patriots, you're going to have to compete with a whole new list of teams who are willing to give up the amount to go up to 6, but not the amount to go up to 4. So in response, to ensure that you get your guy, and you're like, crap, right? A team's going to jump up to 6. My deal with the Falcons is going to flame out. I'm not willing to pay that price. Or they'll know my back's up against the wall, so they'll raise the price on me because the team just jumped up to 6 with Miami. Now, I'm screwed. So just to make sure that they get the best deal possible and get their guy, the Broncos or Patriots would bite the bullet and then make a deal with Atlanta to verify this. That guarantees that they get the 4th quarterback off the board. Now, what can we take away from this potential theory? Well, the Falcons are likely not going to be selecting a quarterback if they stay at pick 4 then. That means someone like Penei Sewell or Kyle Pitts is a real option there. Right? However, they, similar to Miami at pick 3, know that picking a skill player that high at 4 may be a little too rich, and they can still get a great tackle prospect later in the first round, right? Rashawn Slater, Tevin Jenkins, Christian Darrisaw, just to name a few, right? Guys who, if they do trade out of 4, they can still nab, right? They might not get Penei Sewell, but why Penei Sewell when you can take Tevin Jenkins and get 2 future first-round picks? So it makes sense for the Falcons to want to move out, and they wouldn't even be entertaining this if they knew they wanted to take a quarterback. At least the reports wouldn't be leaking. They wouldn't be negotiating. I mean, yeah, maybe for their due diligence, but I think the Falcons would just be focused on, finding which quarterback they want. But I don't think that's the case. And as we talked about before, the second you draft a quarterback as a new regime, your clock starts ticking. That's your guy. You're officially linked to him, right? That's why Ryan Pace is absolutely linked to Mitch Trubisky. And even though, amazingly, he's gotten another shot, usually when that flames out, you're going to get fired. So the Falcons, right now, you have a good veteran quarterback in Matt Ryan, a loaded offense, and you just have some things you need to build around the edges to get yourself back to playoff contention. So why not see what you can become and not take a quarterback later? When you become that sort of team where, we've run our course, now we need to take an injection of hope here with the quarterback. That will not only help the franchise, but then extend the duration of the general manager and quarterback's careers with the Falcons. So it makes sense that they want to move out and not take a quarterback, right? So by leaking this report that the Dolphins are also looking to trade and are in our talks with all these other teams, then it raises the price of their pick too. Because if you're dealing with someone, if say the Dolphins weren't going to trade at all, and that were not true, well then the only that you have the only spot, and they know you're not taking a quarterback, and they know the Dolphins aren't taking a quarterback. So why would I move up, right, from 9 if I were the Broncos? You've already told me you're not going to take a quarterback. So I'm just going to take your bluff, sit here, and then deal with Miami if I am worried that a team's going to jump me and pay a far less cost. So if you're the Falcons, it's beneficial to have a story out there that there are other teams involved too trying to move up to 6. So if you want to guarantee it, talk to us, right? And if this were to be the case and this were to be true, then my money on the team dealing with Atlanta right now, who Atlanta is sort of dropping this report for, is the New England Patriots. Because the Falcons know that Bill Belichick knows that the Dolphins are not going to be helping their division rivals acquire their franchise quarterback. No, thank you. So by leaking it's the Dolphins, the Pats right now are like, well, shit, if we get jumped to 6, if a team jumps to 6 right now, we have to jump to the Falcons because we're not dealing with the Dolphins. We already know that whatever price we're going to have to pay them is going to be an extra first-round pick worth just because we're in the same division. So if the Patriots were worried about, say, the Broncos are just going to move up to 6, just a couple spots, 3 spots, and then take him before they do, it incentivizes them to pull the trigger and move up to the 4th overall selection to circumvent that. So that's my thought on it. I just think this report, it's kind of random. It goes against sort of what the conventional wisdom has been with what's happening. Recently, we've sort of all been like, wait, I think the Falcons are going to look to move out. Before, the plan was, well, they should absolutely take Penei Sewell there. And if not Penei Sewell, the argument was, well, take the future guy. Let him develop behind Matt Ryan. But clearly we can now tell that that's not going to be the case. And we very well might have quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is crazy, but just absolutely great for the Dolphins. So that's my overall thoughts on it. What do you guys think of the trade? Nothing you hear within 10 days of the draft is true. Instead, some piece of information within the report is being manipulated and used against another team. It's just the way it goes, right? Now, either way, though, if this report is complete BS or if it's true, it's an absolute win for the Fins, right? If it's true and the Dolphins are talking to teams to trade back and acquire more assets, well, crown Chris Greer right now. Miami's going to get more assets and still be able to select Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, or even a Rashad Bateman. And I am all in for another trade back because it would immediately justify moving up from 12 and frankly, just make the Eagles look dumb as fuck for going back in the first place when they could have been in position and gotten whatever haul Miami gets. So if it's true, great. And I know some of you are sold on some player, but the Dolphins have shown that they're building this by adding multiple pieces, not just one piece. So if they feel like they can get multiple good players to keep this thing rolling years down the line, year in and year out, I'm all for it. I don't need to take someone at 6 when you can give me 2 really good players going forward as well. If it is the Falcons, though, and this isn't true, and the Falcons have leaked this, or say another team has leaked this, trying to influence the trade market, well, then that's also great. Because if a quarterback is taken at 4, it only benefits Miami, right? Unless that team is New England, of course. But it helps Miami. 1, 2, 3, 4, quarterback's all gone. That means the Dolphins have the choice of either guaranteed Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, or whoever else it is that they deem was worth moving up for, right? Kyle Pitts is a generational talent, and in my opinion, one of the few players worth going up from 12 to get, right? You could argue Jamar Chase fits that mold too, but if quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, 4, they either both might be staring at you if the Bengals do the right thing and take Penei Sewell, or one of those guys is going to fall in your lap. So this is going to be the first report of many that are going to be barricaded at you. So just remind yourself, keep reminding yourself everything you hear for the next 9 days, except what you hear on this show, except what you hear on the PhinsPod, it's a flaming dumpster of bullshit. So keep that in mind. We'll try to decipher it as the reports keep coming, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
We had a big sit down with Tua's family. I got to meet everyone, uncles. They're such a large and close family, so I got to meet the whole family. But this was just hanging out and just talking, trying to get Najee comfortable with coming out there. Hey, buddy, come out here with me to Alabama.
Michigan bought me a flight, and Alabama bought me a flight. And then Tua was in the room. I was cool with Tua in high school. He was just reading his Bible in the book in his room. And I was like, hey man, like you going to you going to Alabama? Like, yeah, I mean, just come with me, type stuff. Come with me, bruh. Come with me, brother. I'm like, yeah, I ain't gonna come with you.
And the next day, I'm going to Bama.
That's going to do it for us here today. Thank you all so much for listening to the PhinsPod. Hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like the video if you watch it on YouTube and enjoyed the show, and subscribe as well, just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. Remember that the PhinsPod is available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and of course here on YouTube. Continue the conversation with us over on Twitter and Instagram @PhinsPod, and check out the site for news and content, phinspod.com. I hope you have an amazing day, and until next time, stay safe. Love y'all. Happy 420.